Yemen National Airline announces resumption of commercial flights from Sana'a Airport to Jordan next Sunday. The European Union says it has increased aid for Yemen to fight hunger crisis in the country. Meet Idris is a mobile school bus that roams displaced camps to provide educational services for children. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rana Swaylam. Yemen National Airline has announced the resumption of commercial flights from Sana'a Airport to the Jordanian capital Amman starting next Sunday. This announcement comes as part of the 2-month truce brokered by the UN. Commercial flights from and to Sana'a Airport has been suspended for more than 6 years. The following report has more details.
Yemeniya, the country's official airline, said that weekly flights to and from Amman, Jordan's capital, will commence on April 24th at Sana'a International Airport. Due to the crisis in Yemen, these will be the first commercial flights from the capital in 6 years. The company said on its Instagram feed that beginning April 24th, Yemeniya Airways will provide one weekly trip from Sana'a to Amman and back. The reopening of Sana'a Airport is part of a 2-month UN-brokered ceasefire that began on April 2nd, the first day of Ramadan. Fighting between Iran-supported Houthi rebels and the Yemeni government was halted by the truce. With Sana'a's airport back in commission, Yemenis will no longer have to drive for up to 24 hours to Aden in the south, over mined roads and hazardous checkpoints to board an airplane out of the country. Yemenis and members of the international community reacted with joy and hope to the news. The reactivation of the airport provides much-needed relief to many Yemenis, as travel restrictions were severe, particularly for the sick and old. Air travel to and from Sana'a will provide access to life-saving medical care, long-awaited family reunions, and a lifeline to millions of Yemenis living in the rebel-held north. On this occasion, Yemeniya lauds the UN truce to alleviate the suffering of the Yemeni people, the airline said. Hans Grunberg, the UN Special Envoy for Yemen, who was appointed 8 months ago and has recently visited Sana'a, welcomed the news. He stated that he will continue to work with the parties to ensure all the elements of the truce are upheld, and he will build on its momentum towards a sustainable political solution to the conflict. This step has been greatly anticipated as travel agents reported that they were receiving hundreds of calls a day inquiring about purchasing tickets for travel. Since the truce was proclaimed, Yemeniya Airways U.S. agent reported getting up to 100 inquiries per day from customers asking about ticket availability and the airport's opening date. The reopening of Sana'a International Airport has sparked optimism, not just among Yemenis stuck in the country's civil war, but also among Yemenis living abroad who have been unable to visit their homeland due to the crisis.
The Yemeni parliament continued its sessions and reviewed the government financial statement. Earlier, Parliament Speaker Sultan Al-Barakani affirmed that the parliament will support the PLC and the government to achieve their national tasks and peace. The Yemeni government, headed by Ma'in Abdel Malik, won a confidence vote from the parliament. This step came after nearly a year and a half after the announcement of the formation of the government. The European Union expressed its hope that the Presidential Leadership Council in Yemen will make progress towards peace. On the other hand, the World Food Programme said it has received 45 million euros from the European Union to combat starvation in Yemen. The WFP said it will continue giving urgent support to face the worrying numbers of food insecurity. The World Bank Board of Executive Directors has approved a 2-year aid document for Yemen, with the aim of maintaining institutions that provide food security for Yemeni people. According to the bank, the program is worth $2.8 billion as an investment in preserving development assets in Yemen. The World Bank has been a major donor to a number of projects in Yemen before and during the war. Its projects usually cover areas of restoring infrastructure of public sector facilities which have been damaged by the ongoing conflict. The following report has more details.
According to a statement, the World Bank has granted an additional $300 million for vitally needed aid for Yemen's poorest and most vulnerable households. A portion of the money has been allocated towards assisting the nation in combating the coronavirus outbreak. Humanitarian operations in Yemen were affected in March when the UN received only $1.3 billion, less than a third of what the organization had hoped to earn for the Arab world's poorest country. There are rising concerns that Russia's war in Ukraine will overshadow Yemen's humanitarian needs. This increased funding will offer social safety nets and cash transfers to assist Yemen's poor and vulnerable households. The initiative will give immediate help to households while also strengthening their capacity to withstand future food shortages and malnutrition. Since 2016, the World Bank has pledged a total of $2.5 billion to Yemen's population. According to the announcement, the new money, which comes from the World Bank's Fund for the Poorest Nations, is also intended to aid Yemen's response to the coronavirus outbreak. According to Yemeni officials, at least 2,000 individuals have died of COVID-19 in Yemen so far, while the true pandemic death toll is expected to be far higher. Yemen's bloody conflict commenced in 2014, when the Houthis stormed Sana'a. In recent years, the conflict has devolved into a regional proxy war, killing over 150,000 people, including over 14,500 civilians. It also caused one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises. The bulk of Yemen's 32 million citizens reside in Houthi-controlled territories. For years, the rebels have been accused of theft and withholdings and extortion tactics. According to UN agencies and relief organizations, more than 161,000 Yemenis are at risk of starvation in the second half of 2022. Initially, the United Nations aimed to raise $4.27 billion to aid in the relief of Yemen's humanitarian crisis. However, it only amassed about a third of that amount at a pledge conference for Yemen in March.
Ahmed Lamlas, the governor of Aden, was designated as a Minister of State by Presidential Leadership Council. The council said that the decision came based on the approval of the members of the Presidential Leadership Council. According to the presidential announcement, the authority to take decisions comes totally by the members of the council. Mohammed Al-Gheithi was appointed as a chairman for the Consultation and Reconciliation Commission. This commission consists of 50 personalities representing various political entities and forces. Their role is to contribute and arrange for national reconciliation as part of the work system for achieving stability and peace. A human rights coalition said the Houthi militia killed and wounded 366 children in Taiz. This came in a report issued by the coalition, which revealed sniping committed by the Houthi militia against children during 6 years. They pointed out that the sniper weapon used by the Houthi militia is the fourth most deadly weapon for civilians. The Houthi militia intensified its recruitment to children in Sana'a. They further forced children to listen to its leader's speech after societal rejection to those sectarian lectures. Local residents in Sana'a reported the Houthis' targeting of children in Sana'a during the holy month of Ramadan. Meet Idris is a mobile classroom that roams the deserts in Yemen to reach millions of displaced children whose lives have been shattered by the war. They provide basic educational services to displaced children since most of the schools were destroyed due to the war. The following report has more details.
Under the shade of the awnings, a big yellow school bus roams Yemen's refugee camps. to reach some of the 2 million Yemeni children missing school due to the civil war. The Idris bus, funded by Kuwait's Rahma International Association in collaboration with local authorities, is an attempt to get children back into class. Mafraq camp was the first to be visited because it hosts the most displaced families and has a large number of children out of school. When Idris' school bus pulled up on the skirts of the desert camp, displaced children couldn't have been more excited, as they hadn't been to school for a long time, since their families left their homes in northern Yemen to escape the hell of the war. 94 children received intensive lessons in Arabic, Islamic studies, mathematics, and science to help them catch up with the learning they have missed since they were displaced. For 3 months, the bus roams from 8 a.m. to noon every day, except Fridays, and children aged between 6 to 10 years old sit on colorful chairs outside in the shade of the bus to get prepared for their lessons. By the end of each week, assessments are held to check students' progress throughout the learning process. And after 3 months, pupils are subject to exams. And if they pass, they receive certificates, which means that they will have an official document to present to schools when they eventually go back. According to UNICEF, 2 million Yemeni children are out of school because of the conflict. More than 460 schools have been attacked across the country, and more than 2,500 schools have been damaged or are being used by the Houthi militia for non-educational purposes. Yemeni government officials and local human rights activists have further accused the Houthis of brainwashing and training primary school students for war, as Houthis didn't only make changes to the educational curriculum, but also they were turning schools into military training camps. Idris bus is considered an attempt to revive the learning process among those kids who pay the heaviest price due to the ongoing conflict that has devastated their lives.
Coming next. Al Saleh Charity Foundation continues distributing cash assistance for displaced people across the country. Welcome back. Al Saleh Charity Foundation continues distributing cash assistance for displaced people in different governorates. The following report has more details.
Al Saleh Social Foundation launched its humanitarian projects for the displaced people in Khanfar, the largest district of Abyan Governorate, who are living in a tragic situation due to the deteriorating economic conditions in the country. The humanitarian project aims to help Yemenis affected by the scourge of wars that have raged throughout the country. The project is presented by Al Saleh Foundation as part of the Ramadan Aid project, an emergency response to the humanitarian situation experienced by the displaced in the governorate, where it inaugurated the distribution of the first batch of aid to the displaced families in 5 different camps.
First, I'd like to say Ramadan Kareem to all the people of Yemen. Today, I'm so happy to be participating in the distribution of Ramadan aid. The aid is mainly cash assistance provided by a Saleh Charity Foundation to displaced people in Hodeidah and Taiz. We would like to thank the founder of the organization, Ambassador Ahmed Ali Abdullah Saleh, for all his efforts and for supporting the displaced through this hard time. I'd like to thank the Saleh Foundation for the cash assistance that it has been providing for the displaced people who left their homes to flee the ongoing conflict. This is a very generous gesture from them, especially during the holy month of Ramadan.
Those in charge of the institution confirmed that the project is implemented through field visits and verification of the due names without any favoritism or discrimination.
The displaced people are living in a very tragic situation. Today, As-Salih Foundation is providing Ramadan aid to displaced people. We want to thank Ambassador Ahmed Ali Abdullah Saleh and all participants of the organization for the great help they are offering. I am a displaced person from Hais district and now I am here in Abyan. I want to thank As-Salih Foundation for providing cash assistance to help us during the month of Ramadan. We were really concerned as it's very critical time.
I want to thank Al-Salih Foundation for this aid.
During the distribution process, the target audience expressed their thanks and appreciation for the good efforts made by Al-Salih Foundation in alleviating their living suffering. These are principles and rules established by the martyr leader Ali Abdullah Saleh to be reflected as projects implemented by Al-Salih Social and Charitable Foundation for the benefit of everyone in the country.
The Houthi militia seized a public area south of Damar city. Local sources said Houthi gunmen attacked a public area in Amran, which is under the militia's control. Local residents of Damar city stated that Houthi gunmen robbed the public area, constructed a building, and built a hangar on it. Since Houthi militia seized the capital Sana'a back in 2014, it has confiscated public and private properties of people, especially their political opponents. The following report has more details.
The seizure of opponents' homes is a tactic the Houthis have used since they seized control of much of the country in 2014 coup, with more than 2,000 looting of properties till this day. The Houthi militia's continuous crimes have reached looting homes of citizens and seizing properties of their opponents in Sana'a and other areas under their control. The ongoing campaign by the Houthis of attacking the homes of their opponents came as part of their strategy to intimidate and terrorize poor civilians in Yemen. Human rights activists said that the Houthis seized his house, looted its contents, took everything he owned, blew it up, then subsequently seized and confiscated his law firm. Such behaviors condemned the Houthi militia and put the group under the table of accusation in front of the whole world. The thing that has driven Yemeni citizens to appeal to UN Special Envoy Hans Grundberg to intervene quickly to stop the militia's looting and confiscating their own property and undermining all aspects of life. A statement issued by Yemeni's Parliament and Shura Council said these actions are violating the international law, especially the Geneva Conventions and the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. An economist also stated that the seizure of the homes and commercial properties of opponents is aimed at exerting pressure on them and their families to prevent them from combating against the militia, and it also enables the Houthis to hoard money and property, enriching the militia's leaders at the expense of their opponents. The Houthi militia didn't contend to seizure of homes and companies, but they have also taken control over radio stations, and they have further shut down 6 radio stations in the capital Sana'a due to broadcasters' refusal to air Houthi propaganda. What will happen next is still uncertain, but it is expected to remain the same as long as the world is not moving to protect Yemeni civilians from the militia's continuous abuse.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Yemen National Airline announces resumption of commercial flights from Sana'a Airport to Jordan next Sunday. The European Union says it has increased aid for Yemen to fight hunger crisis in the country. Meet Idris is a mobile school bus that roams displaced camps to provide educational services for children. This is the end of the news. For more, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at MN Today English. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.